Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Inquiry Club, a podcast about psychology that makes research and clinical insights fun, relatable, and relevant. And today we're diving into the psychology of what we're calling extreme recreational sporting. So, growing up, we all kind of have this classic imagery, or at least I do, and of, I don't know, my dad in a snowsuit, like in baggy clothes playing basketball, my mom in like a cute hiking set. And overall, there was kind of this sense of like having a very active lifestyle, but it was rather casual. And so with the rise of social media, it's kind of impossible to miss what we're calling extreme recreational sporting, which essentially is kind of like this athletic pursuit of individuals that they're not employed to do this, they're not getting paid to do this, they're actually probably paying a lot to participate in these kind of sporting acts. And we're talking about competitions like HYROX, Ironman, ultramarathons, marathoning, even kind of weightlifting for women, I would say, I feel like has been a new kind of extreme. And of course, there's always kind of been the extreme sports of big surf, base jumping, kind of backcountry skiing, free climbing. But these are kind of more associated with a sense of adventure and action and almost a high degree of risk and potential death. But what we're talking about, it seems to be completely different. It's kind of, it's less about a sense of adventure and more about an element of achievement or discipline. But Summer, we were talking about this. Summer is truly, you just run marathons. It's always training for something. So how did you? You are the stereotype. How did you?
I'm the stereotype. Like, I'm the enemy.
You're the enemy.
Yeah.
Get into
I always
it.
kind of say this because when people ask me like why I decided to start running so much more is Christine and I met through high school cross country. That's kind of our infamous lore. So our friendship has this like random.
Always gonna
base
circle back
of
to that.
running.
So
It all comes back to high school cross country. But I actually have a brother who's 7 years older than me, and he's kind of like the most intense guy I know. And so I was in middle school and high school when he was in college, and I think that he did 3 Ironmans when he was in college, did a 100-mile ultramarathon by the time he was 24, so the age that I currently am now. He did
I didn't know that actually. I knew he was. I know him as an intense guy, but I didn't know.
He's so intense. He did I think 2 just marathons. He did like bodybuilding competitions. He was always a CrossFit coach. And then it's like, yeah, he's just so intense. And then he like is over all that stuff. He's like out of his running era, like blah blah blah. He's doing jiu-jitsu casually, and then he casually got 3rd at the national jiu-jitsu competition for purple belts. So it's just like he is so intense. And so I feel like grew up with that as the normal with things and thought like, oh, those are the kind of friends that my brother made in college, so like those are the kind of friends that I'll make in college. And then spoiler alert, I didn't make any of those kinds of friends in college like whatsoever. I know, I'm like, not even a little bit. And so I know that it was like right around my 21st birthday that
That's
I
a lot
realized
to put on 20-year-old girls, Summer.
20-year-old girls. I know.
For
I
20-year-old girls.
was telling someone that the other day, and they were like, weren't you in a sorority? And I was like, yep. And like, it's just
It can't be the expectation on any sorority girl out here.
It can't be the expectation, like, pleased if it is, but like Summer, come on. But essentially I remember like vividly like around my 21st birthday being like, oh my gosh, like I'm always talking about how cool my brother is. Like I'm always talking about these crazy things that he's done, and I've never done anything that's like pushed myself or like challenged myself or like surprised myself with it. And so I remember that being like the initial premonition behind like signing up for my first marathon, and I did it like very in secret, like didn't really tell anyone that I was doing it, like didn't it was so weird.
Can you tell really quick your first marathon story, just in brief?
That one's my second one. Yeah. This one was crazy because my second marathon, I set like a super ambitious goal. And it was also like my first full year of being self-employed. So obviously that takes a toll on things. And I worked a 12-hour wedding day. Didn't like.
It's like not obvious also. It's like, what?
Not obvious. It should have been obvious to me. Worked a 12-hour wedding day, stayed with a friend that I hadn't seen in forever, so I got like 4 hours of sleep. Hadn't been training with this goo that I brought for the marathon, and I literally truly like thought that everything was just gonna be totally fine. Goose started upsetting my stomach. I start sweating like way too much. I'm getting like obviously dehydrated. By mile 15, I know that I'm absolutely cooked. I'm like still hitting my paces that I'm supposed to be, but I just know that it's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
And then at this point, my headphones die, my phone dies. I stop eating like any of the goos that I brought because they were upsetting my stomach so badly that I was like, if I have to stop, then I'm not gonna like hit this ambitious goal that I set for myself.
Yeah.
And so I like went ahead and didn't take any of the nutrition, like anything. And by mile 25, I was coming down like the last hill of the marathon and was like still potentially, yeah, it was so bad. Like could have maybe still hit my goal. And I apparently like looked really dizzy. And so the marathon medics pulled me from the course and like made me sit at the medical tent.
He's drunk driving on the marathon course.
Basically, I'm drunk driving on myself on the marathon course, and it's a completely infamous story because I had like no idea where I was, like the dehydration, just like I was so completely out of it. I was like DMing my friends from the medic's phone because I have no phone. I have like no idea what city I'm even in. Like I couldn't figure out who the current president was. Like it was a whole to do. Like the firemen ended up having to like cart me to the end of the whatever. It was a whole situation. I ended up asking one of the medics if he was single from a delusional state. Went on a date with him the next day. It's like all tragedy that goes nowhere. So it was like this great redemption arc. Doesn't even have a redemption
tragedy. Classic.
It was mere tragedy from Shakespeare. And the worst part of it all is that I visited Christina like 2 weeks later, and I hadn't told Christina that I was like even training for this marathon. So I had to like divulge all of this information and then also how it ended. And as we do, she made me tell the story. I think so.
I know. I knew you were gonna say that. Because I really did. I made her. That was unfair of me, honestly.
No,
but I was like,
didn't
this is
do
such
that.
an. Because the full fleshed out story is like 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
Fabulous. But I feel like that's honestly, a great example of everyone else's perspective as to why is anyone doing this? Why is anyone doing this? Because I feel like that's exactly someone you're kind of like, there's so much high risk for one.
Yeah. And it's all like for what? Like even it's crazy, and not to dog on myself in this conversation, but it's like I go to the local track and time myself for splits. And I used to do that as a sport and would try to get out of it as much as I possibly could. Like I tried so much harder at age 24 just for myself, and it's like low-key embarrassing that it's like literally just for myself, like no one's making me do this, than I ever did when it was like genuinely actually my sport. And so it's like, I guess today, that's such a good way to sum it up, is like we're looking at the psychology of why that is, and like the cognitive dissonance between like, that doesn't make any sense. Like people with the most freedom that they've ever had in their entire lives, choosing their free will to spend it pouring back into hours of running by themselves and HYROX competitions and women's weightlifting and all the stuff. So gonna go ahead and be looking at that today.
That's what we're doing. And I think a good place to start is kind of just talking about the increase in popularity of marathons. There's more research on marathons, unfortunately, for all you ultramarathoners and triathloners, if that's even the correct term. But just even in general, Strava from I guess for reference, I call my dad, as one does, just curious what he remembers from his 20s and whether people were running marathons, were they doing triathlons, like what was kind of the activity. And he said, because he was really active, I feel like both of our parents were like really active, and he just said he doesn't really recall people really running marathons in their 20s and 30s. And that kind of tracks like even the New York City Marathon. It was, I think, about like 12,000 people ran the New York City Marathon in the 1980s, which is when he would have been, not to out him, so I just put it vague terms. I'm like, not to out his age, but kind of in, well, it's too late. But in his 20s, it was about 12,000 people. And even this year, two records were broken for the largest marathon.
Yeah.
Berlin was at 54, and then soon after that, New York City broke it at 50,
Yeah.
around 55.
And then the London one broke it this spring at
Oh, no
56. So, like,
way.
the
I
last
didn't even hear
three
that one.
world majors have broken each other's records by
Yes.
2,000 finishers each, which is
Wow.
crazy.
And even on top of that, the average marathon time has gone up, which indicates
Yeah.
more casual runners versus kind of
Mhm.
this elite class.
Yeah, like
And
it's not like people are getting more elite and the best are getting better. It
yeah,
is the everyday runner that's finishing in 5 hours or 5.5 hours.
yeah,
Like that's the increase of people who are joining these, which is crazy.
yeah,
And even where you're going with the Strava, so Strava, if you don't know,
yeah.
is like popular like running app. You can like log and share your miles and like honestly all kinds of like physical activity now.
Mhm.
And already it's like again, I've had Strava since I was 18. Like I got it after whatever running in high school and
I didn't know it
probably had like
existed that
9
long,
followers.
truthfully.
I like
And I feel
literally
like
just
that's
got it to
an
like track runs
indication.
because yeah,
Yeah.
like didn't have a coach anymore. And I think that for years I had like 9 followers and then just like now everybody that you know has
Now
a
she's
Strava.
famous. No.
Now I'm famous. Now I'm literally not famous. But I just like even the other day, Christina knows I always put funny captions on my Strava.
Yeah. I
And just
look
the
at
other
them for
day,
fun
like,
sometimes, really.
that it means the world to me because the other day I was like, I need to stop sharing so much because Loki, this is like so public. I was like,
I know.
whoever has this holds the keys to the kingdom and kind of have some outer circle on here. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, even Strava users saw a 20% increase in people who are
Yeah.
actually legitimately running the marathon. So it's not
Yeah.
even, and to go back on your point about like your dad running it, I know
Hmm.
that like my mom was always really physically fit, but she
Hmm.
ran a marathon in her 20s and then she was kind of like one and done. Like I did it. That's all that I
Yeah.
really need to do. Versus
Yeah.
like even like I run marathons and I've like consistently been like training for them since my first one, and like
Yeah,
that's kind of always
totally.
something that I've been interested in. So
Yeah,
it's kind of the
totally.
disparity between like the one and done, like I did it for the experience mentality versus like I
Yes.
feel like our generation really tries to formulate it into a lifestyle.
Yeah, totally. And even the idea of Ironman's like the first triathlon was in the 1980s.
Oh wow.
And that's pretty
Recent.
late. Yeah, I guess
Really?
recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess recent's about that's a better way to phrase it actually. We're
Pretty
saying the
late in
same thing,
the creation of the
completely
world.
different. Um, and the HYROX started in 2017. So it's all relatively new
Mm-hmm.
events. But my dad, he did say if people were going to run triathlons in the 80s, there was this thing called the Bud Light Triathlon series, and it was almost like a mini series of almost kind of what I think they call sprint triathlons nowadays. And that's what
Yeah.
he said if people were going to do a triathlon or were interested in that, that's what they would do. And I just
Mm-hmm.
recently saw that USA triathlon, they posted something about it because I think someone was doing a campaign because Budweiser was the sponsor. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
um, like me not even knowing if that was the same company for a second. Me saying Bud Light and having to question whether no, when you're not a beer girl, when you only like
When you're not a
cider,
beer girl,
um,
same.
called out on camera.
Mhm.
But he said that's what he would do, and then I was like, well, what did you do to get activity? Like, I'm just curious. And he just said that he would just go for a jog, or he said step classes were big, which is kind of wild.
That's
I don't even
crazy.
really
That's
know what
like
that
isn't it a
means.
leotard situation? Like
That's
that's
what I'm imagining. I'm like, I don't even want to know what.
some good that's crazy.
But him, one of the interesting things he brought up though, because he's a very tech savvy guy and loves kind of he got me all my little stuff whenever I did a half marathon and just kind of
Mhm.
loves doing the research and all this stuff. And he just said in terms of
Yeah.
technology, like that's why he would go to the track to run because in the
Hmm.
80s, the kind of gear you needed that if you wanted to be kind of like a gearhead person, which I think is much more
Yeah.
common, or people kind of get
Yeah.
in. That's almost like a way people get into things like triathlons or like running. I would say it's kind of like
Yeah.
the cool equipment, the cool vibes, Bandit, Mint, or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
But he just said you would have to walk into the store and kind of be in communities that share that experience. And now
Interesting.
you're so much more advertised to, and you can see like reviews and opinions and just get really
Yeah.
specific information for like your specific foot type and arch and da da da.
Yeah.
And then his kind of second point was that, which I feel like leads us well into maybe why people kind of the uptake in young people starting is he said you just didn't have so many people that you watched in your life or watched your life. He's like, so
Yeah.
whoever was kind of the 40 people around you, whatever behavior they did, you pretty much emulated. And so he's like, people around me were like active, but they weren't marathon or runner elites, you know? And
Yeah.
so I feel like that reminds me of just why psychology is probably influencing so many young people or just people in general to
Yeah.
start. In psychology, there's a phenomenon known as the mirroring effect, and it's a part of this man named Albert Bandura's social learning theory. But in effect, it speaks to the way people kind of learn and adopt behaviors, attitudes, or emotional responses that they observe in others. And so, specifically, those they view as influential, competent, or similar to themselves. And I just think about really who you follow on Instagram. You're really only following, or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, what have
Yeah.
you.
Whatever your network is.
Yeah. You're not following people that you think are lame. Like typically
Yeah.
you're following your peers or someone you kind of see as aspirational. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think going to that Strava model, like
Yeah.
not only are you watching your peers run a lot, or maybe if you join Strava, you kind of start seeing like, okay, how active are they? You see their splits, you see how fast they're running, you see
Yeah.
that maybe X Summer and I are close friends and she can run a marathon, like why can I run a marathon? And then why can I do it at her time now, you know? Um,
I feel like
and
there's so much of an effect with that of the communities that you choose to put yourself in because
yeah,
previously talking to your dad talking about, the 40 people in your life, we kind of have that but by choice with Instagram and Strava
yeah,
and all the things that I know whenever I'm kind of feeling I'm in a funk, I will intentionally follow people who I think are inspirational to me so that I
yeah.
ingest more of that content more intentionally. And I always
Mhm.
notice myself if I'm feeling I'm in a funk or anything like that, I always, which I feel
Do you mean
my
just
brain knows it this way.
unmotivated?
I feel it, yeah, whenever I'm feeling more unmotivated towards
Mhm.
things or I don't know. Yeah, I think unmotivated is the best word for it. But I feel like I always get those senses of, oh shoot, if they can do it, then I can do it. And so I
Yeah,
kind of force myself to intentionally consume that content. And then
yeah,
it's an uncomfortable feeling for a second of, oh, and
yeah,
they are doing it, I'm not doing it. But then once
yeah,
you get over that, then it's, oh, and I did that. It's
yeah.
like, it just kind of
Do
speaks
you
to
feel
some of
like wait, finish that thought and then I have a follow-up question.
I was gonna say it kind of speaks to some of the research that I found of like Z and millennial cuspers getting really involved in these sports, with almost looking for like need for structure outside of like a typical
Yeah,
marriage or
yeah,
maybe a job career track or thing like that,
totally.
because it's kind of almost like the perfect life schedule is just a commitment away because you sign
Yes.
up to run a marathon and then the next thing you know you're eating healthier. Studies show that people quit vaping, they quit nicotine, they have healthier
Yeah,
habits, they aren't drinking as much, they're going to bed more regularly. And
yeah,
so almost like having this goal that is ambitious but they're all small building blocks allows
yes.
people to like kind of achieve a healthier lifestyle that maybe they're craving or desiring but
Yeah.
feel more of an imposter by just chasing after that without having any kind of motivating or driving factor behind it.
No, I totally agree. And I feel like it's a way to achieve a certain milestone that, in our 20s, less people are buying a home or are able to buy a home, less people are getting married, less people are having kids.
Like at
Yeah,
age 24, I'm so much more focused on my career than I am
yeah,
like
totally.
relationship or kids versus in previous generations. I feel like there would be more of a pressure looking to that right now.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like that's
totally.
just kind of how society is focusing on your own
Hmm.
fiscal stability more in
Hmm.
this environment and economy. And I feel that goes along with personal and professional development as
Yeah.
well. But I feel like that can kind of be an undertone of the conversation.
No, totally. And I think there's something to be said about just even not to circle back to social media thing too much, but
Yeah.
kind of influencers that inspire people to adopt these kind of extreme behaviors. Because I was
Yeah.
thinking about even with Strava, how you maybe see times, but with these extreme fitness influencers, they almost influence the certain lifestyle you want to live. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like there was that sense of um, maybe if the Kardashians are inspiring a certain lifestyle,
Yeah.
thereby analogy, a
This is
person named
also
like Nick
inspiring a different lifestyle.
Bear or an ultramarathoner
Yeah.
are inspiring kind of a new
Yeah.
class of people that resonate with wanting
Oh,
to
completely.
achieve something or like they see them overcome. And I was even thinking, even the gear or like, you get to see the
Yeah.
powders they use or the
It's all
clothing that they
cool. Like,
wear.
it's
And
really
it's very
cool.
cool. And yeah,
Yeah.
like the videos are edited together in a way that you're like, that's kind of satisfying.
This is
I remember
motivating, inspiring.
yeah, I started watching, do you know who Cody Ko is?
Yeah. He did the whole Cody Co trains.
Yeah, and I started watching
Yeah.
that randomly. Like, I don't even know how I came upon it, but I
Mhm.
loved them and like fully
Oh,
tracked
yeah.
like his whole
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Process and everything. No, truly, when I'm editing late at night and I just need mindless content to consume, I will go to like runners' vlogs of
Yeah.
their training weeks and those things like that. Literally sent you some that I'm like, this is so cool and aspirational to me. And even more so on that, my best friend's younger brother is in high school track. And one of my like biggest things is I feel like I would have been so much more motivated if I would have had some kind of like inspirational situation to like do. So truly one day I was watching a movie with their family and I took his phone and I followed like my favorite 25 runners from his Instagram because
Yeah.
I was like, I just want you to be ingesting this content. I want you to be motivated
Yeah,
by
honestly.
I'm just more looking towards that as a possibility. But even that, other thought that I was even having a like, conversation with a friend last week who's like signed up for whatever half Ironman or whatever. He was like, I just genuinely feel so cool that I'm like doing an activity that I need to like eat goose on. Like I feel so
Yeah,
much more like there's almost an element of
totally.
having your life together by
Yeah,
like
when you see
stepping into this
people.
role, you know? Of like like buying the gear and doing the things and like proving to yourself that you can actually
Yes.
do it.
Yes, it's that kind of in-group mentality essentially. And
Yeah.
that reminds me of something that I was reading about. It's called healthism, and it
Hmm.
was kind of coined in the I feel like a lot of things happened in the 1980s, maybe around
Yeah.
health and
Honestly, that
research.
could probably be so true. 'Cause 1700 or 1700s, whoa, 1970s was like counterculture, and that was like
Yeah.
party wave era. So it would make total sense for the 1980s to be a resurgence of like
Oh,
health
so
and
true.
fitness. Yeah.
Yeah, because like all this research in like sociology was coming from the 1970 like late 1970s or early 1980s.
Yeah.
But essentially, it was kind of this social ideal by this sociologist named Robert Crawford. It's called
Hmm.
healthism, and
Hmm.
essentially, it's kind of the way that health becomes a moral obligation or an
Yeah.
individual project rather than a shared social or political responsibility. Like, no longer were schools kind of making kids pay a certain amount or like eat a certain
Yeah.
thing, but it does become more of a sense of personal, moral, and social ideals. So people
Yeah.
kind of view it as, um, yeah, more put together to be training for
Hmm.
a marathon, and that kind of
Hmm.
creates a culture where people have taken it upon themselves to be more fit or to like do something
Yeah.
more
To have
motivating.
their own personal challenges,
Yeah.
perhaps. Yeah.
Yes.
I even think about that in terms, like I know I mentioned earlier, kind of like maybe not achieving personal or professional goals leads you to
Hmm.
look more into health and fitness to have an area or element of your life that you can have more control over.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if you don't get the promotion you want or your relationships aren't going the way that you want them to be, like you have control over your
Hmm.
mileage or your workouts or your goals. And like I know I
Hmm.
mentioned to Christina when we were talking about this podcast that like in my first year of self-employment, it was like
Hmm.
even if the marathon that I ran during that time like didn't go the way that I wanted it to, like it was so productive for me to have like
Yeah.
a training regime outside of like self-employment because it to me felt so private. Like to me,
Hmm.
if like if I didn't do well in a run, the only people that cared might be my Strava followers. And
Yeah.
then at that point, if they care, they're weird. Like it was
Yeah.
so just for me that it was like, this is so nice to have a break from the outside noise of things. And this is like just my own personal tract, like doing something fully for yourself, which is really cool. But
Hmm.
kind of even building upon that is a thing that I think about a lot is like the third spaces and almost like
Hmm.
loss of that. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've experienced that as much like in New York, because I like love that about New York, that I feel like third
Yeah, I love
spaces
that
are a
about.
little bit more common. But at least in like Texas, I don't feel like many of like my friends really prioritize third spaces.
Yeah,
Um, and that's like something
I would
that we're
agree.
always kind of
Yeah.
trying to change. But I've noticed recently, like I run almost every day on the Katy Trail, and it's kind of become a third space to me because I
Yeah.
usually run every day like around 5 to 6 p.m. And I've like seen the
The
same
same
people
people.
consistently enough
Exciting.
that
Yeah.
we wave at each other now.
Yeah,
And it's like the
summer.
most thing ever. And it's like there I can think of like 3 or 4 people that like we've waved at each other the past couple weeks, and I've never spoken to them. But
Yeah.
there's this sense
Yes.
of like I see you and you see me, and like if we were to ever
We're little
talk, I feel
characters
like
in each other's
we would,
life.
yes, we're characters in each other's lives. We're reoccurring people. Like it makes you feel so much more like maybe even like present or seen
Hmm.
in things,
Hmm.
which I think that there's just so much value in because it's the same like anecdote as being a regular at a coffee shop, but you're
Yeah,
doing it with people that are like even more intrinsically like-minded to you. And so it's
totally.
like it's one of those things that it's like I'm confident that we're gonna talk one day and we're gonna be best friends and that's gonna like it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and we're all like chilling at this point. And I feel like
Yes.
that's, oh, continue, continue.
Oh no, that's pretty much all that I had is just like kind of almost the build of like the third space is being the gym, the third space is being your trail, your third space
Yeah.
is being like your run club or like those things and people that you see casually but like often enough to be a reoccurring character in your life and how much
Yeah.
like how scientifically that's like so proven to be beneficial for mental health.
Yeah. And well, I'll start with I feel like the social element because certain research that I was reading, it talks about how that's kind of the main for people specific this finding was looking at triathlons and
Mhm.
kind of the socio psychological functions of men and women who participate in triathlons, kind of like what are
Mhm.
their motives and for essentially, they kind of looked at it having different orientation motives. And
Yeah.
so, for the first, for several groups, like the main factor for taking part in the triathlon was to desire to feel unity and integration with other people.
Hmm.
And women, even more specifically, often indicated the will to feel like this kind of unity and integration,
Mhm.
as well as to get almost recognition in the eyes of others as compared to
Yeah.
men.
Hmm.
In men, they the desire to feel equal was significantly more important for women. They want to feel
Mhm.
more equal, but for men, they had a more focus on personal achievement and
Mhm.
wanting to kind of run faster, or there was different motives and orientations, essentially to form, those ENFG like personality types. It was kind of like
Yeah.
what is their motivation, like personality type, and
Yeah. Oh,
essentially, kind of
interesting.
the conclusion was that for every single person, there's mixed bags and mixed characteristics, but they almost had like
Mhm.
five different um,
Like archetypes
personas,
to fall into.
yeah, archetypes that you could
Yeah.
fall into. And it was really interesting because they kind of, the conclusion, like for the biggest thing that motivated people was like a strong emotional drive, social unity, and then like a self testing, like a
Oh,
self
interesting.
seeing what they can accomplish or
Yeah.
pushing themselves. For those with this strong emotional drive, it's kind of like they had an injury and they're running to, and this can mix with self-testing that they
Yeah.
want to see that they can do it again, or
Yeah. Proof
maybe
to
they
themselves.
lost, they're running for their mom whom they lost, or,
Yeah.
and probably people who are younger, my guess is that there's more of a social unity as element
Mhm.
to our running. And for the
Yeah.
most part, like a lot of these races are hosted in kind of these big urban environments that you get to like be with a
Mhm.
big group of people and like do the thing,
Yeah.
and be motivated and talk about your
Mhm.
training and um,
Yeah.
get to kind of like check back in and like, yeah, see people on your runs
Yeah.
and stuff. And
Have such
so,
shared experiences with people who you probably feel so much more like-minded to.
yeah. And you get to do it in a more obviously it is it's a competition in a sense, but it's a
Yeah.
non-threatening competitive environment. Like you were saying, if you, for
Yeah.
example, don't do good in this, it's not like you're a professional athlete where you might lose your job or at risk of,
Yeah.
like affecting or disappointing like a whole fandom.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
um,
And I feel like it's so much more normalized to like do things casually, which is I
yeah,
feel like a huge push of like, like we know people who are ultra marathons at this point. Like we
hmm
know multiple people who have run marathons, multiple people who do high rocks, just like
yeah,
the push towards like normalizing caring about things that
yeah,
you don't necessarily have to care about. I
yeah,
think that like makes everyone feel a little bit less silly for it, and so
yeah,
everyone can unite a little bit more on it versus, and I feel like in previous generations there's more of a barrier to entry of, oh well, I'm not good enough, that's a them thing, versus like
yes,
the average time of the marathon going down is
yes.
actually super freeing for a whole population of people who would love to do that but wouldn't see themselves as someone who can just do that.
Who's a runner, so to
Yeah.
speak. They can become one. Yeah, one of the quotes that I wrote down from this research paper was that they, as in people that participate, look for strong emotions provided by sports rivalry, but at the same time look for opportunities to establish ties and social relationships. The desire to feel the sense of community during events. So it's really that mix, and I think that's one of the starters, and then it lends into like as you get to training, the second thing that you said of you can think so clearly. You for every little run. I remember once you get to see people in third
Good
spaces and kind of get the
spaces, yeah.
satisfaction of being away from your phone and truly having to put effort in. But I mean, several people, if you've probably done anything like driving or like it becomes an activity that you're not really thinking about because for a lot of people there's
Yeah.
monotonous hours of training involved in any of these kind of extreme recreational sports things, and
Yeah.
that creates a opportunity for your brain to start in a healthy way daydreaming and like many people kind of talk about like zoning out or losing track of
Yeah.
time, and you view it as an opportunity to literally like think through all their issues, go in
Yeah.
their minds, like take yourself on a little ride. And I remember once
Mhm.
someone asking me, I feel like anyone that's a runner always tries to evangelize running. So like, what's your pitch for it? And it's so
That's
true
so
because honestly,
that's
anyone
so
that's a runner
fun.
is like,
Wait
you
up.
gotta start running. Like you gotta
Yeah.
come run with me. And
Yeah.
I said, I was like, I think why it's super exciting is because, yeah, I get to feel like I'm with people if I'm running in
Mhm.
Central Park, but I'm having a
Yeah.
really private public experience. I'm
Yeah.
internally processing this conversation I had, or yeah, I
Mhm.
would say like if I'm kind of going through something stressful, you'll probably see that I'm running faster, running more, because
Oh,
I
100%.
need it
You
as
get
an
it out.
opportunity
Yeah.
to orient yourself, and that's something that Dr. Kevin Masters, who studies health psychology, talks about is that
Mhm.
people use it to orient their life. And
Mhm.
in their training, they're orienting their life towards something that seems productive or beneficial for them versus, I don't know, like
Mhm.
partying um,
Yeah.
or something that doesn't necessarily have a clear path forward, even work, so to speak. Um,
Mhm.
but I thought that was really true is
No,
that
that's
people
so
kind of fall in love
interesting.
with the process of training, despite it being like the
Yes.
worst, best thing they've done.
Yeah. Well, there is just like an element of like that love-hate relationship within it
hmm
and like pushing yourself to a place where you truly can enjoy it and like disassociate.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you bring that up because I wanted to talk about this, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to relate. But there's like significant clinical evidence backing running having really comparable results to EMDR therapy, which is like
Definitely shocked the brain.
yeah, basically, well, it's eye movement
Oh, yes,
desensitization
yes.
reprocessing, and so
It
it's like
sounds like it's illegal,
it sounds
just
like
by
it's
the
illegal.
name. It
Oh, I
sounds
know.
like some
I
sort
like
of drug, honestly.
it sounds scary. I had to research it to like really figure out exactly what I was going to talk about. But it's basically like a form of therapy that is you're able to like reposition kind of traumatic experiences by
Yes.
like allowing your brain to disassociate from the
Yes.
story while you're telling it, which like allows like yeah, the reshaping and reprocessing,
Mhm.
desensitization of traumatic experiences. And you do
Mhm.
it through any kind of like monotonous, repetitive movement that activates both the left
Mhm.
and right side of your brain.
Oh,
And the
interesting.
number one way to do it that isn't through a clinical therapist is running because it's
Wow.
left
Yeah.
and right brain rhythmic movement. And I
Yeah.
thought about that because I've always said that I have such a clear head after running and like
Yeah.
just so many things that you're able to process, able to think through. And it's
Yeah.
like clinical psychology like it
Mhm.
is so comparable to EMDR therapy, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting. And like kind of almost thinking about how it would tie into the early 20s age and like I just feel like there's a huge push towards sobriety and push towards,
Yeah.
like finding
There are
people
more
who more
sober
align with your
generation. Yeah.
values. Yeah, sober journeys. Like a lot more people like normalizing being in therapy and like talking about
Yeah.
things,
Totally.
being so much more present within those emotions. I think that like I don't want to claim that like this EMDR comparison like has a significant push in it because I don't feel like that's super like commonly known, but
Yeah.
it is interesting that there is like a huge move towards running in like health and fitness culture and like
Yes.
more rhythmic activities. Even like cycling is a big one. It's like running,
Yeah. Of
drumming, and
course.
cycling are like huge for it.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because you kind of almost think that people are like experiencing positive benefits from like running and cycling and left and right brain rhythmic exercise and
Yeah.
having like similar results that EMDR therapy would achieve without even really
Yeah.
knowing that they're doing that, which is kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, and I think that maybe subliminally explains the kind of love people end up forming for it because
Yeah.
it really is helping them have mental clarity. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's research that indicates it improves your memory of your, that it improves your frontal lobe function, which improves your memory.
Mhm.
I was thinking, I was like, is my memory, when I read that, it
Is it
made me
better?
in hindsight feel like my memory does feel better. I don't even know.
Yeah,
But
you're like, hmm.
no, truly. And yeah, I think that kind of like obviously classic runner's high. I'm sure there's just different associations with almost like the dopamine that you experience from even the little wins of in a training process of I don't know, setting a goal, reaching your goal in a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of getting people allowing their needs to be met in a new way. Um,
Yeah.
and almost managing your life towards a purpose or a goal, which I think is it just meets more of our, kind of deeper psychology needs
Mhm.
or sociological needs
Yeah.
to have purpose and meaning
Mhm.
and to feel a part. And so I think it obviously isn't meeting all needs. Like I don't think you kind of have to continue doing it. It's obviously not satiating
Mhm.
it entirely, but I think in general, I thought that was, I agree. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting that these things are just naturally rising in popularity, and
Mhm.
there's like logical explanations as to why it might be happening. But then
Yeah.
it's like to even look at like society as a whole and like we talked about push towards sobriety, push towards,
Yes.
healthier lifestyles, like even
Yeah.
people like leaning away from microplastics. Like I feel like
Yeah.
everyone is kind of on some kind of niche health
Yeah.
journey, which like
Like that
there's a point
self-actualized culture.
and like that definitely speaks to holes within personal and professional lives that maybe haven't been there in
Hmm.
previous generations,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
potentially are there now. But then it's the kind of lean towards health and fitness journey,
Yeah,
honestly,
it's
across the board
interesting.
is so interesting that it's kind of an across the board
Hmm.
inclination and
Hmm.
probably popularized by social media.
Yeah. And I think something interesting that even as you were talking about, I started thinking about is how this almost feels like champagne problems.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to run
Yeah.
a marathon to find meaning, or like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I need to do a triathlon to feel like I achieve something. And
Hmm.
many of these not only take a lot of time, they actually cost a lot of money to participate in.
Yeah.
And kind of this almost bend towards self-actualizing feels like a very elite, upper middle class, wealthy or kind of
Yeah.
person thing to do.
Yeah.
or
No, it
to
definitely
talk
is.
about, because I think
Yeah.
people that, work for more hours than a 9 to 5
Hmm.
don't have the time to. They come home and sit with their kids and have to like
Yeah.
cook dinner and,
Yeah.
don't get these kind of experiences. And so,
Um,
in a similar way, it is like an interesting social commentary on, um, problems for what could be considered in terms of like the whole world, an upper echelon of
mhm.
people, because
Yeah.
um, we
It's
feel like we need
interesting.
to achieve something that's different than our corporate jobs that pay more
Yeah.
than um,
Yes, outside of the rhetoric. And I know
$60,000 a
that
year.
it was some influencer who posted, and it's like influencing was their full-time job and they're training for a full Ironman. And I think that they trained 40 hours a week. And so
Yeah,
it's like the like privilege innately associated with that
yeah,
is something to note. But then it's like you look at them, even strip away the like the talk of privilege or like the lens of
hmm
that, and it's what dissatisfaction are they feeling within like their personal
hmm
relationships, professional relationships, like whatever it may be, that is leaning them specifically towards that. And they have the schedule that
hmm
allows them to do that,
hmm
but it is also kind of like you want to know the deep why behind them choosing to do that
yeah,
within their lifestyle, you know?
yeah, entirely
It's
true.
interesting. It's
Yeah,
interesting. I feel like so much of it comes back to, identity habits and people kind
yeah,
of needing like a self-identification outside of like their school or their work or the relationship
hmm
that they're finding themselves in. And I
hmm
even like read an interview that said that some guy like found it as a really beneficial way to like schedule his life, that
yeah,
he like felt overwhelmed by the monotony of adulthood, that it was just kind of like work till death. And he
yeah,
was like a training block kind of like emulated a semester to me, so I could measure
yeah,
my life in terms of seasons with that, which is really interesting. But it is just like such a commentary that that I don't know, that there's a discrepancy within young adult life that people are filling with health and fitness and
yeah,
finding their identity in
yeah,
like these fitness communities, which is really
yeah.
cool. But it is just like, I don't know,
Something to
something
note. There, it's kind of a
I don't know.
neutral,
Yeah,
but it is
it's kind of a neutral because it's like that's
interesting.
interesting, but yeah,
Yeah.
what's
Well,
the personal discrepancy that you're facing that you're filling the hole with a health and fitness
yeah.
community?
And just to finish this off, I feel like there's many, I'll just kind of read through like the orientations that
Mm-hmm.
um, in this thing
Yeah,
called the
what's my
Posen
list?
Half Marathon case study, they were looking at a bunch of people, I think it was in Poland, that
Mm-hmm.
um, ran these half marathons, and from the responses from the survey that they gave the people, they kind of gave
Mm-hmm.
different orientations. So the first one, social orientation, people participate to be part of a community, bond with friends, meet new people. And kind of the core drive is belonging, connection, and group experience. The
Mm-hmm.
second is experiential orientation. Individuals value emotional highs and transformational experiences that come from kind of
Mm-hmm.
pushing limits, seeking emotions, and intense personal experience. And these are the people that would describe running a marathon as life changing, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're losing a bunch of weight, or yeah, we kind of talked about
Yeah,
that, like coming back from
an
extreme
injury.
injury,
Yeah.
yeah. Achievement oriented, whoa, motivation. And that's your brother, participants that want to test their
Mm-hmm.
limits, beat a
Yeah.
previous time, prove something to themselves or others. And their kind of whole core drive is competition, goals, mastery.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, health oriented motivation. And this kind of focus on, yeah, what it sounds like, improving health, staying fit, and maintaining physical, mental well being through endurance training. And they found that this was
Mm-hmm.
more prevalent in older individuals. And I think that makes a lot of sense. They really,
Makes sense.
because they're not running as fast, but of course,
Just the distance.
anything more than a marathon is far more than you need for your physical fitness.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense that it's like a sweeter thing. But
I feel
yeah,
like
I
those
think,
are the Hogwarts houses of health and fitness. It's like,
yeah, yeah, which house are you?
here's your
Totally.
orientation. I'm like, why are you at run club this morning?
Yeah, I'm like, my social orientation was low.
Yeah. So essentially, in conclusion, extreme recreational sporting, also
Yes.
known as extreme recreational play, more colloquially,
Yeah.
it's a great avenue for building your habits, forcing yourself to be challenged, to meet new people, to have difficult and adverse experiences that are still, probably within your parameters of comfort, but to find and connect with a deeper version of yourself that you're proud of. But honestly, this is such a conversation that every single experience is so unique that I
Yeah,
want to
totally.
hear
A
I want
billion
to hear the
people's
conversations about
why. Yeah.
why. Yeah, I want to hear the why. Like I want to hear why you do CrossFit, why you do HYROX, why you're at Run Club on Saturday mornings, why you're trying harder for something to be mediocre at in your mid-20s than you've ever
Yeah.
tried hard for anything before in your entire life. And like, what's the science for you? What's your
Yeah.
why? Because I do feel like, as many things as we can assume they fall into categories, I think that it is a really personal experience. But personally, I'm so proud of society with all of the things that we could choose in today's day and age. I think
Yeah.
it's cool to lean towards this direction. So thanks for chatting
So
with
we
us.
say party on.
Party on. Yeah, keep going.
Keep going
We're
on
on
that track.
faster. I'm in beautiful Crested Butte today.
Colorado.
Try not to get too jealous, but we're gonna take some time going over everything that we said right and also wrong about the psychology of extreme play, and then also dedicate some time at the end for personal updates and voting one of us off the island. So we
island.
haven't really gone over that, so you can look forward to finding out alongside us who
said the most
more inaccurate.
incorrect thing that deserves voting off? Voting
Who's
offness.
spreading the most information? Voting offness. Yeah. So whenever
All right.
I'm in New York, we need to have a whole bit about the island. Like I don't know where we can find
Yeah.
an island in New York. But we have to
Well, I guess New
tell
York
that.
is an island, but Roosevelt Island's also
Oh.
a thing. There's Long Island, there's
Curious.
Staten Island. Which
wow.
island
I'm
do
just
we have to go to? That could kind of be funny.
We should try to survive Long Island.
It's like there's a clip of one of us on a ferry going to Staten Island.
And we put it in there at the end of every fact check for they said the
Whoever.
most stuff.
We'd get a video of both of us leaving. And then I have to wait an hour and a half for you to come back on the ferry just to shoot the other one.
And we don't let you bring your phone because it's the olden days. Dreams. I can't think of a better way to spend 4 hours. I'm up first. Okay, so jumping right into all of our misinformation, or also just, putting the money where the mouth is. Christina referenced the increasing number of marathon finishers in 2024 within the podcast, and the final finisher amounts were generalized. So the final amount of finishers for each representative marathon were as such. Berlin 2024 is 54,062. New York City is 55,644. London is 56,640. And Christina also mentioned that the first triathlon was in the 1980s, but the event actually began earlier with the first recorded triathlon in San Diego, California in 1974. It was organized by the San Diego Track and Field Club as an alternative to the rigors of track training. The race held in San Diego's Mission Bay consisted of a 5.3-mile run, followed by a 5-mile cycle and a 600-yard swim in the bay. A total of 46 athletes finished the race. That's interesting.
Yeah, I would hope.
That's why I picked it.
Okay, within the podcast, we referenced the Bud Light Triathlon series. This series was a landmark race in the 1980s that played a pivotal role in popularizing the triathlon across the United States. Launched in partnership with, as you were talking, I was reading this and wondering how I was going to say it, Anheuser-Busch, and organized by... Oh my God, edit. Super scared. No.
Oh, just for me. Babushka.
It looks like it should have some sort of unique way to say it. Anyway.
Oh, it totally does on there.
Okay, I digress. It was launched in partnership with Anheuser and organized by Cat Sports, and the series brought mainstream visibility and corporate sponsorship to the sport. It introduced innovations like the Olympic distance format, 1.5 kilometer swim, 40 kilometer bike, and 10 kilometer run, and wave starts, helping standardize the race formats.
Ooh. Within the podcast, Christina references the mirroring effect, but she meant to say the modeling effect.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm sorry about that.
That's that.
I was cringing watching myself in that, like while editing. I was the modeling effect, you fool.
You fool.
Summer referenced that studies show that people quit vaping when they start running. Although many anecdotally acknowledge that they found quitting vaping to dramatically enhance their fitness and breathing, there's no direct evidence that exercise increases long-term quit rates for smoking or vaping. Running does support the mitigation of cravings and withdrawal from substances such as nicotine vaping, as endorsed by smokefree.gov and the National Institute of Health, which furthermore adds to anecdotal accounts of both the motivation and perhaps the reason individuals' newfound ability to quit. That contributes to their newfound ability to quit when exercising more.
Interesting. We referenced in the podcast in the 1980s seemed to generate a lot of breakthroughs in terms of health research and had a resurgence of health and fitness. Hypothesized this being a potential bounce back from the 1970s free-spirited counterculture era. This, in many ways, could be seen as true. There was a large shift from counterculture to personal improvement, spotlighting individual achievement, material success, and self-optimization that mirrored broader political and cultural transformations, such as the Reagan era in capitalism. And there was also the emergence of corporate and consumer fitness that looked like the rise of commercial gyms, aerobic classes, home workout videos. Think Jane Fonda. These health clubs become social hubs and replace traditional nightlife venues, often linking with social and romantic aspirations. Interesting, because I kind of feel like that's what's happening like now.
I know, yeah. That is interesting.
Which I wonder if the 2010s is the counterculture and then resurgence of it all. But the 1970s to 80s emphasized personal responsibility for wellness. An example of this messaging began in the 1979 Surgeon General's report and preventative medicine campaigns, which urged individuals to exercise to lower healthcare costs.
Okay, this change in culture led to what I reference as healthism, which was coined by Robert Crawford. And I kind of mentioned this could cause the rise in extreme recreation as a perspective returning to healthism in the 1980s amongst individuals in their 20s and 30s. So kind of more expansion on healthism. In a healthism culture, being fit isn't just about being well. It's a moral subject and a sign that you're good, capable, disciplined, and productive. And although this may have positive cultural influences, driving individuals to maybe want to lead a healthier life, it can also place more of a burden on individuals, often ignoring bigger social factors like income, stress, trauma, access to care, or food deserts. So example, if someone quits vaping and starts running marathons, they're celebrated versus maybe someone who smokes or struggling with weight, they might be blamed, even if their circumstances are complex. Summer referenced third spaces, and we referenced third spaces on our first episode, and with the third spaces coming from Ray Oldenburg's book, The Great Good Place, where he lays out the third place theory. In it, he says that third places are any public spaces like cafes, pubs, or barbershops, neither home, which is the first space, nor work, second space, but the third space, where people gather informally and feel a sense of belonging. And being a regular is central to the idea of this. It fosters predictability, low-stakes interactions, and an overall feeling of community.
So Christina references ENFJ personality types, and ENFJ is a type of personality category within the Myers-Briggs personality test, referencing how within the Paksta, Amilda, and Malkrowitz, Moscow, study how each triathlete formed their unique identity in terms of racing motivation. Interesting. So the study surveyed 1,141 non-elite triathletes and 4 motivational orientations they were judged on, which were social, experience, factual, and result. Christina referenced that within this study, the non-elite triathlete racing motivation women were more socially driven, but the men were more focused on personal achievements. Although women showed significantly stronger social motives, rating more important elements such as unity, integration, and recognition, interestingly, the study was found that instead of men, women rated performance goals like achieving personal bests or finishing strong higher than men did as motivation for doing the races. But men were more voted by the desire for the emotional experience, things like the thrill of competition, adrenaline, and the inner challenge. One key phrase used in the study was the motivation to feel equal, suggesting the drive to prove yourself, compete as a peer, and test limits in a fair, structured setting. And Christina also references that when these people run, they often report daydreaming. This comes from the research of Dr. Kevin Masters, who studies health psychology, and this is from his feature on Today Explained.
Reference runner's high, which emerged in the 1970s and early 1980s, associated with endurance exercise or the feelings of euphoria and relaxation that comes from endurance exercise. And at the time, it was actually more of a conceptual description than a defined clinical phenomenon. And the most substantial early evidence came from a 2008 PET scan study, which identified increased endorphin activity as opposed to, I reference it as dopamine, in brain regions associated with emotion and pleasure after 2 hours of continuous running. Summer also mentions that running has comparable results to EMDR therapy, and there have been no clinical trials or studies run to provide empirical evidence for this, but running's bilateral stimulation of the eyes, so like when you're running and you're kind of perusing or like surveying the landscape, it's kind of emulating the way your eye movement is during an EMDR session. And anecdotally, it's been spoken about having similar effects or prolonged effects when people go and run after their EMDR session.
Interesting. And lastly, Christina indicates that research shows that running can improve frontal lobe function, which can improve the brain's ability to memorize. And this is considered true based on improving executive function that can affect our working memory. So running can enhance the inhibitory control, which is like resisting distractions, the cognitive flexibility, which is like switching between tasks, and planning, and also problem solving, which even a single session of 20 to 30 minutes of moderate running can produce acute boosts in reaction time and accuracy on tasks that depend on the prefrontal cortex.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we didn't do that bad.
I know.
Not too many
I don't know.
corrections. Just a little bit of like follow up. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's a truce. So maybe
Yeah, True. Yeah, I don't know. We're actually both gonna stay on that.
We're gonna fight physically.
We're gonna fight physically. We're actually gonna have a hot dog eating competition. So
we're gonna have like one of those little like pool floaty things that you like hit yourself.
Yeah.
Hit each other on like Wipeout. I feel like they have those.
That'd be so fun.
Honestly, I've always wanted to try that.
No.
Bring back Wipeout. People are like in like an inverted U position and
yeah, like in the air.
Yeah, and it's always like they like put a sound effect over it, and it's like people's back like breaking.
Thinking about that as an adult is like so terrifying because that would mess you up for a while.
Oh my gosh, they would literally get like punched in the neck.
Yeah.
And they'd have to like continue jumping across the whole situation. Yeah, I'd be curious to see.
It was like $200,000 or something.
I remember thinking the waivers that they must have to sign is just absolutely insane.
Absolutely insane. You're probably like essentially signing your life away, like effectively.
I might die. Like honestly, like probably. They're really high up. I remember thinking that like that.
So high up, and sometimes
like
the
even
water
falling. Like if you fall weird.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
so much of that is could not happen today.
No, true. That's what I was gonna say. Is like people keep asking me my dreams for this podcast, and I think that my new answer is for us to have enough of a platform so that it would make sense for us to go somewhere to fight physically, to continue on this bit of like who gets voted off the island. Like I just want to find myself in a situation where it was like, yeah, this is obviously our next step for our podcast. Yeah.
That's so true.
Sorry,
that is my new goal. I want to build enough of an environment to which we can sponsor ourselves fighting.
I want to tell someone that I have a business trip to go fight you.
I really want that.
What are your dreams? Break the glass.
Oh my God.
Girl.
Summer, what'd you do? Summer was having a chateau experience.
Ooh, yeah. I had a little chateau experience this weekend. Literally. I went and shot in Houston with some media friends, which was really fun because I don't get to second shoot a ton. So it was really sweet just to, have that low stakes.
You feel more relaxed when you second, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes and no, because I feel like whenever I'm solo shooting, I'm only really, like, obviously managing my emotions. And so it's like
Yeah.
obviously just different, like working on a team and being like trying to like be a little bit more perceptive of like what they might need from you. But it is just
Yeah,
like
totally.
ultimately way chiller. And then you can
And I feel
challenge
like you're really
yourself to like,
perceptive of those things, so it feels like
I was on
a lot of
overdrive, yeah.
watching. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun to like get challenged creatively and be out of town for a second, and I made a new friend, which was awesome and really fun. But my more interesting life update is probably my tick disease that I suffered from, not this week, but the week before. We haven't recorded in like 2 weeks because the only crazy part about the whole story is that I had this like insane like itchy rash on my hands and feet, and I thought that it was like this random disease, so I was like not going to go to the doctor for it. Anyways, I ended up going to the doctor for it, and the doctor takes one look at me. Keep in mind, I go to the doctor with just a dead phone and a bag of Jolly Ranchers because I'd like been asleep all day.
And
'Cause I
Summer's
took the
been giving me
NyQuil.
slow, really nonchalant updates. Don't worry about it. Like, I just have this little thing. It's kind of painful, but no
I'll live.
worries, you know. And
Yeah,
then
no
all of a
worries.
sudden, hospital.
Hospital. Oh my
Update, I'm in the hospital. My phone's dead. And Sydney, her roommate's there. I'm like, are you okay?
And Sydney, my roommate's
And then
here.
she's like, well, not a worry. Then you
Not a
go.
worry. Yeah, well, like, yeah.
You were
so I
like
get-
so chill about it. You're like, this is so dramatic.
It was so dramatic. Well, I truly like took a NyQuil at 1 p.m. So I woke up at 5 and was like, ugh, it's getting worse. Like I should just go to the doctor. Go to the doctor, dead phone, Jolly Rancher. Doctor looks at me and is like, this is a tick disease. And I'm on, like, it was like I was on day 4 of symptoms.
But
and
didn't you
untreated.
took your blood test before?
I
And
took
they
the
didn't
blood test
find
at the
anything.
hospital. No, okay, wait, ready? So I took the
Okay.
blood test at the hospital. I'm at the like urgent care city doc situation, and she was like, "This is a tick disease," and she was like, "I wish that I could just like give you antibiotics, but I have to send you to the hospital because if this is the tick
Oh.
disease, you're on day 4, and the neurological symptoms start on day 5." So you have to go to the hospital right now, is my recommendation. So then I have a dead phone and just a bag of Jolly Ranchers, and I go to the hospital and get my blood tested, and like a bunch of other random tests. And then he's like, it's not the tick thing. We haven't gotten your blood back, but like no worries. I'm super confident that it's not that. But you came back like with a viral infection and also you have a cold. And so I'm like, ugh, that was the most dramatic situation that's ever happened in my entire life. And this is when I'm texting Christina. I'm like, I'm so silly and stupid. Like it's not
Yeah,
even
she's
the
like,
tick
we're on
disease.
the up
Like,
and up, feeling so much better.
yeah, like everything's gonna be
And
fine.
we both were texting back and forth. It's so good it's not the tick disease because like I think reading back we were like, oh no. Because tick disease would be like worst case scenario, like what does that even mean? And
Like that's horrible. So anyways,
That's
long
horrible.
story short is that the doctor from City Doc calls me the next day, like the original doctor who originally sent me to the hospital, calls my phone, and truly this is for the wrong episode, for the next episode, I had a parasocial relationship with her, and I keep thinking about that because she was like, I looked at your chart from the hospital and like, have they called you? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, well, your blood test came back positive for your tick disease, and I just called you in an antibiotic, and you need to go take it right now because you're on day 5 and you're about to have neurological symptoms. Whatever that means. And I'm literally like,
I remember
again,
giving Bella a life update. I was like, Summer has a disease, and if she hits day 5, she's gonna hit neurological issues. And like didn't give any more context. It's like,
no one even had any more context. POV, it's like we have to stop doing this podcast because I'm experiencing neurological issues, and I just can no
worries.
longer.
You become a case
reputably
study now for
hold-
the
yeah, like a
podcast.
psychology. Exactly. I'm like, and weeks 7 through 10 are looking at my brain. So that took over like a good week of my life.
yeah.
Like it's
that
going to be
was the
something that
whole
I
recovery
reference for a
mode.
while. Yeah. So that's probably the
Do
most
you learn
interesting.
anything about yourself in that time period?
Yeah, how painfully extroverted I am. It's like such a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, to be locked away is like really wrong.
It's really wrong. And I always go back and forth about like if that's something that I should work on or not, like if I should get more comfortable not being so extroverted, but then I go through periods where I'm like, oh, I'm doing really well. Like I haven't, freaked out by not seeing people. And then I see people and I'm like, oh, this is so much better and more fun and I love this. So it's always like,
But
do I
you're just a
wanna change
people
that?
person. You're just a people person.
I love being around people. So yeah,
You love the
that was my
dogs.
week of personal growth. I have no idea what I've
That's
been doing
good.
since then. And then I ended up at a chateau. So how was DC weekend?
Segue. DC weekend was glorious. One of our best friends, Natalie Yaden, just moved there, and she's doing this kind of fellowship program. And so I was like, you know what? When in Rome, I'm going to go to DC and see her. And it was just so fun. Immediately, she's one of those people that I could just talk to forever and feel like, but also just sit in silence with. So that's always like, when you're having that much one-on-one time, you're like, I need to be able to do both of those person.
Yeah.
I had woken up super early. So it was one of those things, when you're packing super late, that had like one of my eyes was like significantly larger than the other because like it was so tired when I got there.
Like, dang it.
No, literally. And we went to this cute little place called Wine and Butter and just got to like chill. And there was like this little chihuahua, which I'm not normally into chihuahuas, to be honest, but I'm like more of like a big dog girl. But I think its name was like Jack or something. It was so cute. And it just ended up sitting with us, and the owner like let it fully hang out to a certain point where it's like my hand was all of Jack. That was all of him. And then we went to a worship night, and we went hiking on like Roosevelt Island,
So fun.
which I feel like Roosevelt has like an island everywhere, because he's one in New York as well. So
I was just thinking
wanted to
that
shout
you just referenced Roosevelt Island there.
Roosevelt. And we went wakeboarding on the Potomac on Monday morning before anyone went to work. And so it was just so crazy. I didn't know how to wakeboard, so they put me on the kneeboarding, which, I don't know, it kind of looks super lame in the videos.
Kneeboarding,
like, everyone looks so sick. And it's like the monuments are like in the back, and like we're being like skirted around, and like I see the video of myself, and it just gives so not a similar vibe. I'm like, I can't share that with anyone.
I can't share that with anyone. This is actually just gonna stay right here with me.
Literally. But the water was super warm, which kind of scares me. I'm like probably like radioactive vibes, but
that's scary. Especially being like,
but it was just like glorious to see the sunrise.
Yeah.
And
that's insane. That's dreams.
Experience DC in that way, because I feel like it's not really something I'd ever done.
No.
Obviously before.
Yeah.
If I would have done that before, it would have
experience.
Yeah, I felt like a whole new vibe, and I just took the train back, and I feel like it's always a 50-50, like good train experience or bus experience. Glorious. It was reading my book. The woman next to me, because I kind of got on late, she left midway through the ride, so then I had a perfect little window seat. And there's so many little coastal towns that you pass by from DC to New York, so it just feels like you're in a little movie and just kind of romantic. The whole experience is really cute. So
wait, that's so fun.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Love. Okay, update on your housing. Last we spoke.
Bro, I don't have any housing. It's been drama. Living on a prayer. That song's so real to me. That song's so real to me right now.
Embodying that in a brand new way.
I'm literally really resonating with that song. We have been looking. It is so crazy to find an apartment to rent in New York, because well, I think it's because a lot of people are moving to the city right now, either like through a new job or going to school.
Yeah.
And we're trying to stay in our neighborhood in the Upper West Side. But like even apartments that we thought we were going to get were like in approval process, and you send them such personal information, like you have to send them so much stuff. And then it got like approved by someone else took the apartment, applied for another one before we could even see it. It was on like only listed for one day, approved. One that we were potentially going to go look at, it might be renovated or potentially listed, but it's kind of just like all of it's like in the air. But now me and Bella's chillness is catching up to us, and it's crunch time.
Yeah.
we're not naturally stressed people, but should I be? Like,
it's time to get stressed.
Or is that just me like trusting in God? Which hopefully it's both, but I think it's like
just thinking about that. Trusting in God.
Yeah, I was like, is that just like peace?
About how, like every time that I like try to like get forceful with something that I want, it like doesn't go well at all.
Because I'm like, am I just causing myself to be stressed for no reason? Or because I feel like I'm honestly doing everything I can. Yeah.
So what happens if you don't get one? Like, what happens?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I like have friends I could stay at their house or something, but I guess I would have to figure out what to do with my furniture.
Yeah.
That would get like really random and spastic, but
this is random, but I feel like my parallel life update to this is that my sister is like actively 9 months pregnant, and like has been really chill about it.
That goes by so fast.
so fast. Yeah, she's been so chill about it for so long. And then she went to the scan like 2 weeks ago, and her baby was already measuring 9 pounds, which is crazy to like, yeah.
Huge. That's so sweet though. I mean, such a healthy little baby.
Such a healthy baby. But it's truly the most bonkers thing ever because her firstborn is genuinely a year and a half old, and she's taller than the 3-year-olds at the playground. And like, my sister's tall. Like, my sister's like, probably 5'10", 5'10 and a half. But her husband's 5'11", which isn't crazy. You know, they're not clocking anything with starting with 6.
6, yeah.
And so it's just like, how are you guys making the most
like
babies in the
averagely
entire
tall.
world? It's like, it feels averagely tall. I don't want to say that and get hate, but it feels averagely tall to me. But anyways, she is in so much misery and pain right now that every single text from the past like week has been it's so bad because she's the type that gets funny when she's miserable, and so it's selfishly
it's sarcastic,
yeah. So funny. But I'm expecting a new niece basically anytime starting a week ago.
Are you gonna go see them?
I'm gonna go see them the second week of September. Actually,
Okay, June.
the week before I see you, I think.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so cute.
I'm so excited.
I stay holding my friends' babies. Like, if I see a baby, I'm like, can I hold her? I took a photo with one of my great friends' baby, and she's so cute, and she's like 3 months old. And in the photo, it's like me holding her, and then like my finger like this, and her like this.
That's the best feeling in the entire world.
I'm just like, you need a little fingy to hold on to. I get it, girl.
Oh, I get it. Been there. We'll be there again.
Been there.
Yeah. I know. I was dreaming on my run of like things to get Rowan to, my like first niece, the older one.
That's such a good name.
I'm like, I know, I love it. But I'm just like, that's gonna be so cute and fun to spend time together. And then it's like, she gets a new sister. The cutest thing, and then I'll stop yapping about it. But the cutest thing, my sister and I call like every day, and we FaceTime, and like Rowan's like starting to pick up on like who I am from FaceTime basically. And Savannah's like being really sweet about showing the phone and being like, this is like Aunt Summer, this is my sister. Like, who's your sister? And then Rowan will point to my sister's stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the cutest thing in the entire world.
Cries immediately.
There's a sister in there. I know. Literally cries in every language. So those are everything interesting going on in my life.
That's a good wrap on mine as well. So awesome. I love you.
Okay. Well, I love you. Thanks for yapping today.
Thanks for yaps. All right, bye y'all.
Yeah.